Welcome to the first video for organic chemistry. This video is just what we need to know from general chemistry in order to do organic. So first of all, organic chemistry is the study of carbon-containing molecules and their reactions. And in this discipline, we will talk about how molecules act during a reaction. The molecules will collide, and bonds will be broken, and bonds will be formed. And so that's basically what we're studying in this course. For example, if we have this hydroxide ion and it collides with this iodomethane, we end up transferring the OH onto the carbon and removing the iodine. So we actually have a replacement here, or a substitution. Why do reactions like this occur? Well, we need at least 2 semesters of your time to answer that question. And what we're going to focus on is the electrons and how the electrons behave. Why do we distinguish between organic chemistry and inorganic? Organic means that it contains carbon, and inorganic means that it does not contain carbon. Why is this so important, and why do we need 2 semesters? It's because organic compounds are found in everything. Our food, our clothes, our pharmaceuticals and drugs, plastics. So we end up having 2 semesters of organic chemistry so that we can talk about all the different ways that carbon bonds and contributes to everything around us. So in organic chemistry, the atoms that are typically bonded to carbon include nitrogen, oxygen, hydrogen, and the halogens, fluorine, chlorine, bromine, and iodine. And the typical bonding is shown here. Carbon generally has 4 bonds. It is called tetravalent. Nitrogen typically has 3 bonds, and so it is called trivalent. Oxygen, 2 bonds, divalent, and the halogens and the hydrogen are monovalent, and they typically form 1 bond. Remember back in Gen Chem, we talked about the different types of bonding. There's ionic bonding and covalent bonding. In most of organic, we are going to talk about covalent bonding, or sharing of electrons. And if we think about hydrogen as an atom versus H2 as a molecule, how do you think these 2 things relate in terms of energy and or stability? It turns out that our atoms, hydrogen atoms shown here, are higher in energy than our compound of H2. This plot, however, is talking about the energy in terms of the distance. So as the 2 atoms are farther apart on the x-axis out here, and as they continue to get closer together, moving that way on the x-axis, you see that we have this very low point in the energy, this very stable species right here, which is the exact place where that covalent bond exists at the perfect distance. And so then once you try to push those 2 hydrogens closer together, the nuclei, the 2 positively charged nuclei, kind of get pissed off, and we end up increasing the energy pretty substantially very quickly as we push those closer together. So covalent bonds have a distance that is indicative of the most stable sharing of those 2 electrons. What forces keep the bond at the optimal length? Attractive forces between the positively charged nuclei and the negatively charged electrons, and repulsive forces between those 2 positively charged nuclei. Also, repulsive forces between the 2 negatively charged electrons. And if we do a quick review from general chemistry, we can remember that we have protons, neutrons, and electrons. The protons and the neutrons are the ones found in the nucleus, and that is where most of the mass of the atom is. And remember, the electron weighs much, much, much less than the protons and the neutrons, and that is found outside of the nucleus, kind of circling it in orbitals. And remember, the electrons make up most of the volume of the atom. And then remember the term valence electron. Those are the electrons that are in the outermost shell. And in organic chemistry, those are going to matter the most. Those are going to be the electrons that are going to be involved in the chemical reaction. And remember from the first slide, I said, it's all about the electrons in organic chemistry. So you try real quick. In carbon, which electrons are the valence electrons? So for carbon, if we look at the periodic table, it is in group 4, and so therefore it means it has 4 electrons. So the group number is equal to the number of valence electrons. I hope you recall that from general chemistry. How many valence electrons are in carbon? The answer would be 4 electrons because it is in group 4. And again, we focus on these 4 electrons because they are what we use in the bonding of carbon atoms. So if we count the valence electrons in general, the group number equals the valence number, and that's the case for all of these atoms. Okay, so that was a very quick introduction to the kind of thing that we're talking about during the next lecture. And so the next topic that we'll pick up in class is Lewis dot structures. Okay, see you in class.